Welcome to the Practical Consciousness Podcast with James and Lisa, where we help you tap into your highest selves in everyday life. Hi, welcome to Practical Consciousness, the podcast with James and Lisa. I'm James.
And I'm Lisa.
And as you can see, I'm outside today. It's just,
I'm jealous.
I just decided, I know this isn't a virtual background, that's real. That's my rig back there.
That's what I was telling James. I'm like, nobody's going to believe it. That does not look real.
Yeah. For those listening to us that can't see this, sorry, but I'm outside.
There's trees behind him and it's gorgeous.
I'm in the forest.
In the forest.
I just decided to come outside and just soak up the sun, and
great idea.
We have the technology. Why the heck not, right?
Yeah, and it's beautiful out.
And it kind of feeds into what we wanted to talk about today, which our topic today, we want to kind of carry over a little bit from, our future self and this notion of law of attraction and manifesting what we want in our lives, etc. And really, we want to kind of blend mindfulness and this kind of this idea of mindful manifestation by paying attention to what's actually being manifested in our lives.
Yeah.
And so Lisa and I wanted to kind of share some of our ways we do it, some of just ways to get more in the practice. It's really essentially mindfulness, but we tend to, most of us, I think, tend to forget when we create something.
Yeah.
Right. And we go, oh yeah, well, that just happened. It's just, just kind of goes by like most everything else in our lives. It just happens. Right.
Yeah.
And the reason why it's really important that you pay attention to when your manifestations come is because that just reinforces the confidence in your own ability to manifest.
Yeah.
Which just makes things manifest quicker.
Yep. It's just energy. It's all energy. Keep that energy going.
Yeah. Yeah.
Don't let it die. Once you get the manifestation machine going, don't turn it off.
And kind of what made us think about this was, as both Lisa and I are doing our future self journaling. One of the things that I've started doing in that future self journaling is noting the manifestations. Let me explain what I'm saying. So let's say I'm talking about, I published a book and I'm so excited the book came out and so many people are reading it and it's so, blah, 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 right? You're right. And then what I'm noticing is that even as I'm writing, some parts of it are already in work. Some things are already in movement, right? That maybe I started outlining what the book would look like. And so then I'm putting in the margin of that journal the things that I have manifested already to bring myself to this path.
What a great idea. That's a great idea. You didn't share that with me before. This is the first time I'm hearing it, guys.
Oh, okay. I thought I mentioned it to you.
No, you didn't. I love that idea. Because I too have been doing my journal, my future self journal. Has everybody else been doing it? I'm wondering.
I'm sure they have.
Yeah.
I'm confident.
I love that idea. I'm going to do that in the margins, make notes of the things that I have already have in motion that have already manifested.
Yeah.
Towards that. Yes. Love that.
So let's step back a step. Let me ask you a couple questions. When you and I both talked about, we read The Secret many years ago. We've read Abraham Hicks books.
Yep. Watched a lot of their YouTube videos.
So we've been sort of law of attraction junkies for a while. When did you start? Not when, but what did you, when you started that kind of law of attraction manifesting journey? Where were you in the process of paying attention to when things were manifesting, or did you even have any kind of practice where you did that?
Well, I would say back in the early days, I, was just like everybody else, normal, just noticing, excited when something big and fun and cool would happen, but taking things for granted big time, just taking lots of things for granted. I think that's too easy to do. And I used to do it a lot.
Well, okay. That's a good point. I'm just kind of thinking about this right now. Is it this, what do you believe? I mean, like right now, what's occurring, and you're in my life, we're doing this podcast or whatever. Did we manifest all of this?
Yeah. I mean, we created it. You create your life, right? You create everything in your life.
So maybe it's just as simple as starting there. Maybe it's just as simple as, taking stock of where you're at in life.
So were you leading the witness earlier with your question? I'm starting to feel
Objection.
Because you're right. That is one of the first steps is you start, because one of the first few things that you start learning when you start becoming more conscious is I created this.
Right.
And so it's like, oh,
good or bad.
I love this house that I live in. I created this.
Yeah.
I love my family. I created this.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, to some extent, you co-created it with the people, with your family members.
Yeah. But it's, yes.
No, I wasn't trying to lead you. I just had a realization as you were sharing your story that it was like, I think, when we talk about taking things for granted, that everything that we are and we have in front of us or that we deal with day in and day out, we literally take for granted. We do. We don't even take stock of them, of the realization that this is our creation.
Yeah. And good and bad, right?
Well, good and bad is just
not always something you want to look at, but we created everything. Well, not necessarily good or bad, but the things that you're pleased with and the things that you're like, not so pleased with.
which is perfect, right? I mean, that in itself is hugely beneficial, because that realization that this I don't care for as much as I liked this experience is creating another experience.
Yeah.
And we talk about that, whichever those sides of the coin that you focus on, when we talk about mindfulness and the two sides of the coin, whichever side you focus on, you're going to manifest more of.
Yeah.
Which that's kind of why we feel like when we are mindful about our manifesting, there's so much power there.
Oh, so much. And you're going to create the things that you really, really want when you're mindful of your creating. It's when we mindlessly notice what's right in front of us and get frustrated because it's not what we want. That's not conscious. That's
right. We're unconsciously manifesting.
You're manifesting more of what you already have that you may not be pleased with.
Yeah. So, I kind of became aware, just this, one of the reasons why I wanted to come outside actually was this I've manifested this moment in my life, through wanting to be a coach, wanting to sell our house, wanting to move out on the road, wanting to experience a life of adventure. Well, all of those things, maybe not the way I thought they would unfold necessarily, but they've all unfolded to this moment where, I'm recording a podcast in Sun River, Oregon, beautiful, gorgeous 75-degree day. Because this is what I created for myself in my life.
Yeah. So like a year ago, if somebody had said these things to you that you just said, living in Oregon or, traveling around, but podcast, all of it.
Right. A year ago, it was an idea. Right. Yeah. I had the belief that I could.
Good.
But now I can take stock in it and look at it. And then I can say, okay, just to our earlier point, what part of it do I want to continue creating, and which part of it would I like to tweak?
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's always this is this thing I've always sort of, or not always, but I've noticed as I've paid attention to what I'm manifesting, is I started to learn or understand, I guess, and become aware of the of the the, the pace at which things come to me.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And I used to think it was because, you know, I had a certain level of resistance or not resistant, whatever, right? Which is true for sure. But there's also sort of like this, you know, God's time. It's like there's this, you know, I believe that the universe is sort of like or not manifest. It's managing everything in the sense that it's you know, that there's a synchronistic grid in which everything sort of falls in line the way it needs to fall in line. And so I've started to become more aware of how that works, in the sense that some things come and I think, well, God, that took a long time. Maybe I was resisting, or maybe I was, you know, not open enough and staying open enough to keep it. But as I've started to pay attention and 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 pay attention to when I manifest, the reality is that things tend to come when they need to come.
Yeah.
And I it's probably a combination of both, right? It's definitely like, I get the impression the universe keeps trying, so to speak, right? But
we resist.
Yeah, but I've had times where I feel like I'm pretty open and pretty
Oh yeah.
I believe that something's going to occur, and it doesn't. And then about the moment that I let go of it,
that's when it comes.
It comes.
Yeah.
And
so
then
it comes
and it comes in a way you look at it and go, "Oh, that needed to happen right then in that way, because this led to this, it led to this, that led to that."
Yeah. So there's trust as a really big part of what's behind what you're talking about. Just trusting in that idea that it is going to come when it needs to come. And that might mean it doesn't come.
It might mean.
But you have to trust that then that is what's perfect for you.
Right.
That's what's right for you.
And that's, I think that's the value in this idea of keeping track of what you manifest, because then you're sort of like, you're mindful about manifestation. So we talk about mindfulness a ton, right? You and I teach a class. Mindfulness in its simple essence is observing what the heck's going on without judging it. And staying open. Well, if you apply that same mindfulness to our own manifestations, you get the same benefit. You get the same advantage of not judging it, being open, and you start to see the more reality of the manifestation process, in that it's sometimes you start to figure out your own patterns of how you stop it, how you slow it down, how you speed it up, whatever it is. You start to understand your own way of arriving at the thing you want to manifest, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, it does. And it's just like anything that you want to get good at, you have to practice it. You're not going to get good at something unless you practice it. And in this case, our practice we're suggesting is be mindful, pay attention, notice when you're manifesting.
That's right.
Start journaling about it. This is practice.
Yeah. I used to carry, I don't do it now. I'm kind of just doing this podcast today. I'm like, I'm feeling like I'm feeling called to go back to it. I used to carry a little notebook, a little journal notebook. And I used to keep it in my pocket.
Yeah. I remember you used to talk about it.
Yeah. And I used to, every time I noticed that something that I consciously manifested, I would just note it in there. What happened, when it happened. And then if I could remember it, I would put when did I ask for it? But this was only for conscious manifestation, right? Things that I knew that I had asked for.
Yeah.
But it's interesting. I kind of see I kind of see a couple of really kind of practical ways to fall into this. One is that, just what you were talking about, either in your reflection journal at night, even your morning, even if, your morning journaling, you could, talk about, maybe your intention, and then how your intentions turn into a manifestation, something like that.
And not everybody's a journaler. You can just say things out loud. At the end of the day, I'm so grateful that I manifested whatever, my husband bringing me flowers today. And
yeah, gratitude is a good one, right? Yeah. Even if you, one of the things that we have taught, you and I both have taught in our mindfulness classes, is just find 3 things to be grateful for. Practice that on a daily basis. 3 things that you have now that you're grateful for.
Yeah.
Well, you could even extend that and say, every day at the end of the day or whatever, just note 3 things that you manifested and be grateful for it.
Yeah. And you maybe didn't consciously manifest something, but you can still make note of it. Because if you really look, you might find that you actually did. And I told you about my little prayer flags that are behind me.
Mm-hmm.
If you look at old podcasts, you'll see I only had 1 set. And like a week ago, I was like, I really wish I had another set of those. And lo and behold, they showed up in the mail. They showed up in the mail this week, the other day. So now I have 2 sets.
And it's part of a charity, right? Where you give.
Yeah, I'll donate money.
You give to an organization, a Tibetan organization.
Yeah.
That's so cool.
So at some point, my whole room will probably be full of them. We'll see. Maybe they send them every week. I don't know.
But to your point, what you said earlier, if you weren't in the practice of noticing that you manifested that, you would just open it up and went, oh, how, great, blah, 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 and put them up. Yeah. And that would have been the end of it.
No, but now I'm telling everybody the story about how I manifested my prayer flags. And I'm so grateful.
The other thing that I was going to suggest as a nice way to start, becoming mindful about your manifestations is do an inventory. I actually used to teach this little exercise where you sit down with a piece of paper and you just note just whatever comes. It could be your house, it could be your car, it could be, whatever it is, just because it's going to matter to you, right? And you just inventory what you have in your life that you're, it's usually it's the things that you enjoy that you have, right? Or things.
But can it be like, a trip you made or
anything? Okay. Just do an inventory.
Your job or an experience at your job or something.
Ideally you want to get about 10.
Okay.
But as many as you can inventory. It can be moments. Yes, it can be experiences. It can be physical things. It could be money. It could be relationships, anything, right? Anything that comes to you in this physical world. And then so you capture the inventory and then try to think about when you desired it. And what you'll find, at least for me and everybody I've ever taught it to, is you will have that memory where, you were driving in the car and you saw the red BMW go by and you're like, God, I'd love to have a red BMW. And then, maybe 10 years later, you're driving a red BMW.
Yeah.
For me, it was like a hot tub. I always wanted a hot tub. So I had a hot tub. I mean, it was these big things and little things.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, that's when you start that begins the process of noticing. And then you just carry it forward, through what we've already talked about, through, journals or taking note or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like building your manifestation muscle.
Well, that's interesting. When you just said that a minute ago, it's like this is like anything else you got to practice. I almost disagree to a little extent, in the sense that I think just like all mindfulness practices, you have to practice becoming aware that you're manifesting and when you're manifesting.
But that's the practice.
But manifesting itself is we've been doing it our whole lives. It doesn't, we don't have to practice. We're really good at it.
Yeah.
You just have to switch from believing that you are manifesting versus believing that life is happening to
you. Yeah.
Right.
That's a big shift right there that a lot of people need to make.
Yes.
Because some people might even be listening to us. Probably not. Mostly everybody that listens is, somewhat woo-woo like we are. But some people might be not understanding what we're talking about because of that. Because they're like, well, something that happened in their life, I didn't manifest that. I would have never have asked for that.
Well, and that's the kind of the deeper, darker side of this. If you look at some things that people are honestly victims of, like maybe sexual molestation or rape or something like that, and it's hard to look at that and go, I manifested that. Right. And the reality that I've come to learn is you did. You just maybe it was an unconscious manifestation.
Yeah.
And that it as hard as it is to kind of take that in and sit with that, and those are the moments that are harder for people to look at. Like maybe somebody died from COVID-19 and you're like, they manifested this virus so that they could die. I don't know. You and I both, we don't know that, right? But the truth is that what you and I both know is that the world is created by the people that are in the world. Mm-hmm. And to your point, some people listening to this who are high conscious would go, yeah, I don't know if I can get to that point. And we're not asking you to. But all we're asking you to today is just notice. Yeah. Notice when what's in your life that you feel like and you manifested. Yeah. And get in the practice of noticing it, just like all mindfulness. And there's power in the knowing. There's power in the observation, and there's an appreciation that maybe you're, to your point earlier, maybe you're taking for granted and you're missing now. Yeah.
That's why I think it's good to do like the gratitude at the end of the day.
And so don't let those deeper, scarier, I guess, or that's just your mind trying to distract you away from a truth that you can accept. Yeah. That can serve you and that can help you prosper. Yeah. Because in the end of the day, I mean, I don't think we've ever actually said this. You and I know Crystal and I never said this, and I know you and I have never said this. In the day, the reason why we go through the effort of doing this podcast is we want to see everyone prosper.
Yes.
Period. Yeah. And we feel like we can connect with people who are, those left brainers and very logical, and would break everything we talk about. They're breaking it down into a logical sequence, right?
Yeah, I've been there.
And so our intention, and we're not asking you to always believe us either. You can challenge us, but definitely our intention is to bring prosperity forward. I just felt like we had to say that. I don't know why, but I did.
No, that was a good thing to say, because I believe that also. And we're just, we're just bringing little ideas for people to just contemplate, consider.
Yeah.
And if it's something that you've already grasped and something that you believe in and you want to move forward, then we offer a few little tips.
Yeah.
That you can try to
Lisa and I are both, we love concrete things. We love concrete movement, I guess, things that move us concretely.
Yeah.
And in the world of high conscious awareness, and things are often not very concrete. So anyway, we've probably killed that horse. I think that's all we really had to offer, right? We just wanted to bring forward this idea of really a next level of power in the law of attraction is starting to notice mindfully when we manifest. So with that, I think we will say bye-bye, and thanks for listening. Bye, guys.
Bye.